Okay, guys, let's start. Have you got your dongle?
Gotta love Macs with no functionality, don't you?
Okay, guys, so we're going to carry on now with the Beatport crew. They're going to explain to us how to start a independent record label. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so thanks everyone for coming down. We really appreciate everyone being here, and big thanks to IMS as well. It's absolute pleasure to be here with you guys. It's a little extra pleasure for me being the son of Maltese parents, but we'll leave that one for later. Look, yeah, this is a pretty big topic, and we've only got an hour, so it's probably good to start off by saying, you know, this isn't the rule book, the Bible, the encyclopedia, or the be-all and end-all of how to do this, but hopefully we can give you some insight and some fundamentals for you to take away and either start your own independent record label or it will assist you in growing that. So basically we'll start by introducing the very smart people next to me. It's my name's Matt. I'm the marketing and communications manager at Beatport. By the way, you'll have to excuse the Beatport crew a little bit. We had a 5 a.m. wake up, so if I sound like I've been out all night, this is not true, and it's the only time I'm saying this, and it is actually not true. Yeah, so I'm the marketing communications manager at Beatport, and yeah, I work mainly on a brand level, and I work closely with artists and labels pretty much every day of the year. And we'll go down the line, and everyone can introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Jamie, and I'm Director of Sales at Toolroom, based in Maidstone in the UK. Yeah, focusing on kind of house music, tech house, yeah.
Hi, my name is Cheryl. I'm label manager for Alleanza and our new label Revolt, which is only a year old. We're based in Malta, and we only do techno.
Hello, everyone. My name is Deniz Everling. I'm working for Beatport since 3 years now as a label manager and looking after Europe's top suppliers and labels. And yeah, I'm happy to be part of this panel today.
Okay, so we'll get right into it. And I think when we were talking between us all, where we wanted to start was two real fundamental rules, I guess, across music in general, not just in regards to labels, but if some of you are producers and artists and DJs, this is very much appropriate to all of you. And really, these two things, staying true to who you are and what you believe in, and representing the scene that you're trying to, you know, evolve in, are two of the most important things you'll ever do, as far as we're concerned. You know, we can start this kind of story, if you like, on two levels. And I'll give you the good news, and then I'll have to give you some, not bad news, but maybe some confronting news. And the good news is that we're all doing something we believe in. And that's amazing and incredible that we're all doing that. But the confronting news is that if you're looking to release music, and you're looking to release music on Beatport, then you have to take in this. Now, that's a pretty big number. And it's not something that we take and just, you know, really, there's not much you can do when you have to look at that, other than just say, how is it possible for anybody to cut through that? And I was just saying to Jamie earlier, this is a jungle, and it's not going away, and you have to cut through it with a machete, or you will not be able to survive. And, you know, this is the kind of thing that labels like Jamie's and labels like Cheryl's have to deal with on a daily basis. And, you know, in the current climate that we live in, this is how it is. And the labels that do things really, essentially, the labels that do break through, the labels that cut through, the labels that you see, you hear, that get played, et cetera, manage to balance the two things that I mentioned extremely well. And it's a seesaw of balance, to be honest. What's more important? What takes first position? How long's a piece of string? We don't know. But what we can say is that they're equally important, and what you use to drive your music forward is completely up to you. I think Deniz is probably more inclined, like probably the expert, I would say, on this panel to put some pressure on you, to really, show you what this means in context.
Thank you, Matt, for your nice words. Yeah, I think you have already mentioned two very important things which I want to highlight again, which are part of being successful as a label or as an artist, is to stay true to yourself, to your heart, and understand your market and understand your environment, which means what kind of music are you doing and for whom, and where do you see yourself in the Beatport ecosystem. I think the awareness of your own genre and the knowledge of your own genre gives you already a measure of success in sense of where I am, what can I expect. When we, for example, look at the top-selling Beatport genres, you can see that, I mean, it's not even though we can't share any numbers here, this gives you already a good understanding of how big a genre at Beatport is, and also a good comparison to smaller genres. I think it's not a secret that, I don't know, Adam Beyer's Drumcode style techno or Dirty Bird's Bassy House and Tech House are big sounds on Beatport. But how big are they relatively? And this doesn't mean, this graph doesn't motivate or shouldn't motivate you to flip around from genre to genre and say, okay, techno or tech house is the biggest genre now. It's the most successful genre. I will change my genre and I will do techno instead of bass music now. That doesn't work either, because A, we have a high volume of releases in techno, which means you have a bigger competition. And if you start to do, I don't know, as a bass artist, you start to do techno just because it's popular, you have to compete with with producers who are producing techno as a passion and really understand this genre and this style of music.
I mean, I guess the most important message here is don't be a populist. You can look at this chart and you can interpret this chart and say, I need to make tech house or I need to make techno. I mean, it's relative. What you see in front of you is relative. Let's break it down a little bit. Like, there is obviously way more volume within techno than there is in melodic house and techno. That is why you see such a big differentiation. But not being a populist is the, sorry?
Also, melodic house and techno is our newbie genre, but it's also a fast-growing genre, so it's also something to mention.
So don't jump on the bandwagon. Do what you're supposed to be doing. Do what you were put on the planet to do if you want to get all idealistic about it. But Cheryl, how does being in, the biggest jungle that is techno on Beatport, how does Alleanza cope with being in such a competitive genre?
Well, it is a jungle.
Sorry to throw you into the minefield.
But you just have to stay focused, and if you know what you want, where you want your label to be. We tend to always keep the same artworks, so we can always have like an image, and obviously if you're in techno, you try and make the artwork look techno-ish, whatever that means. But you have to know where you're focused, and you know exactly where.
But you guys, the vision, I think, for a label like Alleanza, you can see the vision of the label. Yeah. It's very, not just from artwork, but from the sound. You know where you're going.
Yeah, the sound is very important to keep on the same level. I mean, we get so many tracks from artists, and sometimes they're really good, but if it doesn't really fit into what we're looking for, then unfortunately we have to, move on past that. We sometimes give the artist maybe ideas on where he can send this track to, because it's not good for us. But you keep the same type of music, you know.
All right, you're getting out of this one, Jamie, but you're not getting out of the next one.
I was going to quickly say something about that. Really. I just because we, you know, at Toolroom we've been stuck in a bit of a rut sometimes where we've chased a sound or something, and our hearts weren't necessarily 100% in it. And in those occasions, those records don't do well because we know actually at heart that 90% of us in the office are not really feeling that, or it's not kind of where we should be, and there's something wrong there. And then, you know, when we've aligned our efforts back to what we all believe in, then everything, you know, gets set alight and everything works. So I think it goes the same with producers. You know, if you're so dedicated to a sound, then why deviate from that? And yeah, make an alias, that's fine. If you want to try it out, if you're good at it, brilliant, follow that. But, you know, if your core value is, you know, melodic house and techno, stick with that and it'll work. You know, genres come around in circles. So it's, I think what these guys are saying is absolutely spot on.
Nice one, thank you, mate. We were just literally having this discussion about melodic house and techno before we got on the stage, and it was, you know, artists who were, I'm not going to name names, but artists who were obviously struggling, if you want to call it that, because the genre had dipped in popularity. But, you know, now that it's back around, these particular artists and these particular labels are back on the trend again. It happens. It's cyclical. We all know that this is like something we all know, and we can all sense. We all know it's coming, etc. There's a ton of, you know, you could sit here for hours and drop names of who was a hit in early 2000s and then who took a dip in around 2010 and then who's back up again now. It's you know, it's ever going. Okay, so we'll move on from this topic onto our next big fundamental. And sometimes a lot of us in the business don't particularly like to admit it. I have to, because I'm the marketing guy, so I'll be the bad guy here. And I'll just say that you're building a brand. It's very idealistic, I think, for us to all be like, we're just about music and blah, blah, blah. Let's be honest and let's be real. It is about brand, whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, that's cool. You can be as anti-brand as you like, and you can be as anti whatever you feel like, but it really, at the end of the day, you're building a brand, and that's the most, you know, that brand is the thing that's going to give you longevity, and it's the thing that's going to help you survive when we've been talking about times are a bit shit, because they are going to get shit at some time. It's normal. So what this means really, and essentially coming from a marketing perspective, is it means that you need to extend your perception a little bit of what the functionality of your label is. Like, yes, we're all releasing music and that is the most important thing that we're doing here, but your brand and your label should be used and utilized to its full potential. And to do that, you need to use it as a marketing tool. And hopefully we'll be able to outline some things here which will help you to do that. But just like any marketing tool, it needs to have, like Cheryl mentioned, a look, a feel of its own. It needs to be an entity. It can't just be a thing. It needs to live and breathe just like all of us. And more importantly, what it needs to have, as something that Cheryl and Jamie have touched on as well, is a sonic signature. That sound, that's it. Everything can be revamped. Your logo, the artists you work with, the remixes you work with, you can always change those within the framework. But your signature, your sonic signature, is something that should be imprinted in you. It shouldn't be something that floats around. It should be right there. And I mean, we could look around, and you could walk up to any electronic music novice who's not on a high, whatever, and you could show them any of these logos or talk about any of these labels. Yours is in there, mate, and so is yours. It's fine. And they would know what they stand for. Everybody knows that Defected equals house music. Everybody knows that Toolroom is a club tech house sound. Everybody knows that Mousetrap, et cetera, et cetera. You could go on for hours. And of course, Alleanza's, you know, flying the techno flag. And this is how it has to be. And it's not about logos, because you've changed your logo how many times, Jamie?
Yeah, well, loads, and we're probably just about to do it again. So yeah, that's part of the natural kind of renovation of a label anyway. But we can go into that a bit later. But
yeah. But Defected as well. Change the logo 20 times, but that sound is the same. And that's the most important thing that we look to here. So yeah, actually, good timing.
I mean, yeah, it's, as you say, it's more than just a logo, more than just a name. It's, you know, what we see. It's kind of more of a promise. You know, we have punters that are, you know, expecting a sound from us, and you know, we then work with our producers and to you know, to provide a certain sound. So whether we class ourselves as tech house, I don't think we do. We just class ourselves as, you know, quality music in terms of the dance spectrum. So, and I think, you know, it's taken 15 years to kind of feel our way through this jungle, I suppose, of, you know, mistakes. You know, things have gone sour sometimes, and, you know, we've chased some things that we probably shouldn't have. But, you know, it's taken 15 years to kind of get to a point now where I think Toolroom is in such a state that it's, you know, how we're classed as, you know, quality music essentially for your clubber. Whether that be tech house, whether that be techno, whether that be house, we kind of have it. I do think we have a sonic signature there. It's just kind of good music. So, you know, 5 years ago we did our reset campaign, which kind of was a bit more of a statement piece to signify this kind of step back to our roots. Essentially, you know, the label started off with Mark Knight just, you know, releasing his tunes, like house records that he loved, and playing them out to clubs, and just, you know, it was a great house vibe. So Reset was about that. It was going back to the roots and kind of finding what we actually meant. And it's what I said first of all when we started. Is, you know, it's kind of finding that sound and running with it and not deviating from it, and, you know, being true. And when everyone's behind it, when everyone's feeling it, that's when the magic happens, because, you know, everyone's got their passion into it. Everyone's promoting the record so well. You know, people want to play it in the office. People want to speak about it. You're proud about it, you know. If you believe in the sound and what your brand is, I think it goes just further than the office, further than the Beatport charts. You know, it signifies a brand expansion essentially. But yeah.
So Deniz, what does this mean in terms of the Beatport ecosystem? We're going to say that word a lot, so I'm sorry if it annoys the shit out of you. It's going to probably...
I think it's not, I mean, brand identity, it's not only about having a great release or a great remix on your label, but it's more about having a great package, as you have mentioned it already, Jamie, which has a high recognition value, sorry. And I think established or strong brand identity leads into more followers on Beatport, and that goes without saying that more followers on Beatport leads to more sales, meaning people like Suara or Toolroom or Steve for Talent or Innovisions, they do well on Beatport, yes, A, because they have an established or strong brand identity, and B, because they have thousands of followers on Beatport, meaning when Oliver Koletsky has a new release out, thousands of people getting a notification on their My Beatport and seeing, okay, Oliver Koletsky has a new release out, going to the card and checking out. And I think that's important. That's what I've meant also with the knowledge of your genre, to see what people are, or what artists, who is really successful in my genre, and who is an up and coming artist, like in techno, for example, Amelie Lenz or Charlotte de Witte, and to look for collaborations so you can get more followers. Part of her fans to as your followers as well, because probably she has thousands of followers as well, and if she has a remix out on your label, everybody who's following Amelie Lenz gets a notification, and that's how you can grow your label a bit, or the followers on Beatport.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret. Shopping on our platform, everyone has their own way of doing it, has their own nuances, everyone has their own method per se. But essentially, you know, shopping in this way is a huge part of what happens in our world. It is a big thing. These notifications, we'll call them, even though they're not, and we know that, but they will become hopefully. These are big. But look, the last point that I really wanted to make on a brand level anyway is about brand investment, and this doesn't mean necessarily spending 400 euros on social media and all this bullshit, because you can call it that if you want, but it means about real investment in your brand. And Deniz touched on it. Collaborative work is the one thing when you're moving up in this business, collaborative work keeps you alive. Collaborative work will accelerate things that would otherwise take 15, 20 years to do. So that's where the investment in brand comes from, not in spending money on PR or this or that. Like, that's important, but real brand investment comes from investing in something that's going to grow your business. And, seek out those leaders. Like Deniz mentioned, seek them out. Find ways. There's ways. There's always a way. I'm not someone that accepts no very often, and neither should you. You should always continue to try and grow that brand of yours by investing in it. Okay, so we'll move on to the next part. Now, I could make some cycling jokes here, but I won't. Cadence is the one thing that a lot of people starting in the label business overlook. They think, cool, I've got one EP ready, I'm going to drop it because I want to start this label, I want to do it. But, that's really, that will kill you in the end, because we live in a time where remaining present and being at the front is almost essential. And without this essential element, you're going to drown. And the only thing that can help you do that is by release scheduling. It is the thing that will make or break your label. If I went to Toolroom tomorrow and I had the best track you've ever heard in your life, and I said, I want to release this next month, I'm guessing the answer is going to be, yeah, maybe not the best track ever. Okay, calm down.
Schedules are a tricky one, and especially when you get to the high tier of artists, they sometimes their release schedules are 12 months in advance or 6 months in advance, or sometimes they want to get a release out in the next 2 weeks because it's the only slot they have in the next year. So you kind of have to be, in our label anyway, you have to be very kind of reactive about what the situation is. So maybe we have to change the release schedule to fit certain people. But yeah, as a matter of course, we're scheduling up 4 to 6 months in advance, I'd say generally, as a rule of thumb.
And I mean, that's essentially what you'll have to do. And that's, if it was me, I would do it from the beginning. It's the one thing that it's so often overlooked, and Deniz and I have probably spent long hours saying the same thing to two labels in this position. It's like, where's your release schedule? What is it? And it's non-existent, and you just think, why? I don't really understand. So what I'd like to talk about here as well is consistency, and I think Cheryl's the best person to talk about consistency on this panel, because this picture tells 1,000 words. It basically wraps up exactly what we've been talking about and everything else. So, Jamie, what are Alleanza's schedules like, and how has it developed, you would say, over the years?
Yeah, well, in the beginning, obviously, we started out with one release a month. We had everything, maybe we had, as you said, we didn't have one release. We had more than one. And then eventually we got really busy, and today we release every 2 weeks. So that's 2 a month. And we think that more than that is too fast. But up till now, that's worked really well so far. So
in the beginning, you had one release
a month. Yeah. But we were lucky because our very first releases, we had some good artists that signed on. They believed in the project, as you might call it, in the beginning. because it was just a project, and we had some good names. And as you said, if you get remixes from you know, higher or more popular names that have more followers, then your label starts to get recognized. So that was very important in the beginning, you know.
Yeah, so it's not something that you can just wipe away. It's something you need to focus on. It requires focus. It requires hard work. I think
Definitely.
one of the things that often I think I can see Deniz has a little grin over there, and it's because often, you know, people forget that this is work. Yeah, it's really fun. We work in a fantastic industry, and it's really fun, but it's bloody hard work. And you know, scheduling 6 months in advance is a nightmare.
Oh, mega. It's so many headaches in scheduling in general, but yeah, so there needs to be consistency, there needs to be a plan of action, and yeah, there needs to be some focus on that, because yeah, it's not easy starting a record label. It's fun. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced the good times in that, and seeing where things have gone up to now. You know, even I started a sub-label within the Toolroom group that's not associated in any way. And you know, it's taken 2 years for it to start now getting a decent amount of sales. Up to that point, it was, you know, it's been graft for the love of it, really. And I've been lucky just to be able to do that in my part time. But now, yeah, as I say, it's taken about 2 years for it to start to, you know, things to be charting regularly now. So I'd say if you're doing a label and you want to do it, but just stick to it and don't give up on it, because it will be worth it in the long run.
Yeah, it'll kill you. It may kill you, but it may not. But anyway, that'll be how we end that bit. Okay, this next part is probably going to be the longest section of this workshop or panel, whatever you want to call it. And it's a big one. There's lots that you can read into what it takes to build a campaign. And I mean, that's the key here, is that, you know, if you have the idea that you can upload a track to Beatport and your job is done, then you are dreaming, because it is not. That's about 1/65th of the amount of work that goes into releasing a record. And building campaigns is the way, really, I guess, if you were going to change that perception of what releasing music is like, it should be thought of as a campaign. Most marketing campaigns are always planned on a 3-month kind of schedule. So you have a lead up or a pre kind of area, you have a release area, and then you have post-release. And there's no reason why, you know, there's no reason why you shouldn't think like that. This is the mentality you need to have. What can I do before, during, and after? And how am I going to stretch this over 3 months to get the most value out of it? You know, some marketing campaigns I've worked on have been a 2-month lead time. So that's, you know, 2/3 of the time have been worked in a lead-up period, and then a quick release, and then a month of follow-up. And it's up to you how you want to work this, but it's essential that you do it, because without it, you're going to drown. And once your release is out there, this is where the important stuff happens, because there's ways and means to make this release work for you. And I think from a Beatport level, I mean, Deniz, what are the key things that can be done on a Beatport level before, during, and after, I guess, is the question.
I think the most important thing is for me to mention, I think before, is clear that you send out a promotion, get DJ feedback, and it's also essential to collect this information and to send it in a smart way to your account manager or label manager at Beatport, so they can pitch your release. But I think the most important thing is that a post release campaign is very essential to try to push your release into the charts, because when you are in the Beatport charts, that leads to more sales. But a featuring doesn't mean that you can lean back and watch your track climbing the charts. With an exposure on the store is a great starting point, but that doesn't straight translate into sales. And there are some basic things you can do. One thing is you can create an artist chart every month if you have a release out or not. If you have a release out, especially if you have an exclusive release on Beatport, it really pushes your sales, because DJ charts are one of our biggest sales driver, because some customers, they don't go through the DJ charts, they only go through the artist charts to discover music, or it's just another way to filter music for them. And another thing is to make sure that your social media channels are always up to date, and that you let your followers know that you have a release out, that it's on the top, in the top 10, or that you got a featuring. What we highly recommend is you can run a SoundCloud campaign, meaning you can add your buy link into your SoundCloud snippet, or even if you have a pre-order, you can do that before the release date as well, to just link your SoundCloud follower to Beatport as well, and to push your sales. But I mean, there are also tons of smart tools to use to run social media ads like ToneDen, where you can easily target your release to the right people.
Yeah, we use certain marketing tools within the Beatport framework to promote certain campaigns we're working on. You'll see the image in the middle there is actually a free download of the week, which we've run on, or is running on multiple channels. It goes out via all our socials. These are the kind of things that anyone can do. We're doing this as a marketing campaign. And so we put the same amount of effort we would into this as any other marketing campaign. We have the label support, we have the artist support, and it's great for our fans and followers. I think we were having a chat earlier before we stepped on stage, and artist charts are something that, again, it seems like something that you just wouldn't even consider. Oh, look at, it's blah, blah, it's Carl Cox's artist chart or whoever. But artist charts are a big, big way in the Beatport ecosystem of how people shop. There are a lot of people out there who shop by DJ charts. We've all done it. I did it when I was starting. I used to look at charts all the time, and everybody would. When you're starting to DJ, you want to know. And this is a way, when you develop into your professional career and building a label, to also utilize that. We all have networks of friends who play and once you start to grow and develop, these people will be there. And sometimes you have the luck of the draw, where you don't need to ask people like, hey, if you're playing my tune, can you chart it? Sometimes you don't need to do that, but sometimes you might, and you have to get your hands dirty. Sending these emails might not be so pretty sometimes. You might feel stupid, or you might feel you might feel a bit weird, but hey, what's the big deal? I send them probably 3 million emails a day where I'm like, oh God, I can't believe I'm asking this person this thing. But it happens, and we all do it. So there's no reason why we can't or you can't when you're starting your label. And campaigns are a big one, because they do have these 3 arms, if you want to look at it like that. And I think a big arm is promotion, and promotion can be really split into 2 areas. One would be your club promotion, where you're promoting the track to DJs via promo services, and the other would be press. And I think Jamie's probably the most equipped on this panel to talk about the effort that Toolroom go to have their releases covered both on a club level and a press level.
Yeah, I mean, releases in the office everyone is a priority for us. Some take higher priority, some take a bit lower. But at the end of the day, we sit down on every release, at least 4 or 5 weeks before, and everyone gets together and creates a concept of how we're going to push that release along. Something interesting, not just a kind of, this is out now. Every one of them's kind of got a little theme. So I think that's an important part to take about something. If you've got a release, think about an idea that you can take and push along with the release, because it opens up so many extra doors rather than just, I've got a record, it's out now, buy it. Do you know what I mean? So So we go through that, and then we focus on a lot of internal stuff. So a lot of our own media is things that we can control: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We kind of create campaigns around this first. All of this external press stuff is nice. It's not guaranteed, so you can't really rely on that so much to promote a record. It's nice when it comes through, and we push hard on that, but we focus very much on the own media. So and that's with a great team. We're lucky to have a great team of 13, 14 individuals there who've all got full-time jobs working on, whether it's marketing, whether it's social media, full-time video guy there. So these specialist teams are creating these bits of content that we need. Video is up there as the one biggest priority that we have. Mikey, who works at the Toolroom relentlessly, constantly, he's there till 10 o'clock at night, constantly working on new ideas, new documentary ideas, whether it's a 5-minute snippet to promote a latest release. We just rehashed an old Sterling Void track, which is 30 years old or so. And but they've gone and video document various artists from Untitled Dance to Danny Rampling to Mark Knight, and he's spent his time creating this bit of content, which may only be used once on social media, but it's like an asset to be used to further promote the record. So various things, including standard pack shot videos, they all come as part of the campaign. But I think the most important thing is, the pre, the out now, and the post. The post is probably the more effective kind of method. It kind of re-enhances and kind of says to the customer, this record's important. It's like, rather than just letting the record go out, forgetting about it. Once you follow up with various, extra pieces of kind of content, it kind of, and it kind of puts that into people's mind that this record is important. They keep seeing it in different formats and different kind of ways, and that's where the social media and this kind of, what I said right at the start, this kind of concept comes into play, because you can then tie all this into kind of a very interesting kind of campaign, which doesn't just peter out. It carries on for 4 or 5 weeks. And you, as someone who's listening to it, is kind of interested in that next post because it was different from the last. And so I think a lot of effort needs to go into thinking about how you promote that record and how you get that internally instead of relying on the external press. But it's where I come to it. We do pitch to these magazines. We pitch to radio, which radio is a big key factor for Toolroom. We've worked hard on that over the last 2 years to ensure that we're getting radio play on a regular basis, especially on Radio 1. Which is a big shot window for the UK audience, especially, and it's helped us out no end. And I think when you start with a record label, you think, how the hell am I going to get on national radio, or how the hell do I get to these DJs? But you'll find that most of these big DJs are very willing to kind of take emails, or they're willing for the direct contact. If you're an upcoming artist, they'll be more than willing to hear your track if it's good. They don't pick up everything and they won't respond to everything, but I don't think that means that you should give up in any stretch. I think if you're knocking on doors constantly and people recognise you for that, you keep going back and you feed them the right record, it'll pay off. So radio play is such an important part of, I think, our Toolroom's campaigns, really. We try and do that before. So this is in the stage before the release hits Beatport. Gives us something to tell these guys that this record's going to be hot. This record's like doing its thing on radio. Like, people are really buzzed up about it, rather than me hitting Deniz up saying, "This is a new record." I've got some ammo there to say, "Look, we've got 10 plays on this already." It's been played by X and XX people in the clubs as well. So I think that's a real important part before you kind of try and hit the stores, is you have a little bit of ammunition in some form. And that starts before the release is out. So all key parts. And then obviously record goes beyond the just on Beatport as well. You start to kind of push it out to licensing opportunities and pushing it out to TV and game and things like that. So it has a longer shelf life. Beatport's a bit of a springboard to give that. So once you've got some good results happening on Beatport, there's further opportunities outside of that as well. So I think all this work in terms of promotion and the effort it takes, full-time jobs to just make certain bits of content that maybe to the average person just looks pretty standard. It actually, it goes very much deeper than that. So I think it's worth putting the effort in to create these bits of content for the release and treat them as important as each other. As I said at the start, some releases will have a lot more than others. you know, we may spend, you know, 5 people's time on one release, and that will go on and on and on. Whereas one of them may be a bit clubby and a bit tracky, and we may tone that down a little bit because, you know, you can only say a certain amount. But yeah, I think content and the effort put into that is key here. Sorry if I rambled on a bit there.
No worries, mate. Yeah, so this is obviously you're hearing 1,000 different ways for you to get your music out there. You just need to, I mean, Toolroom's in a position where they can utilize all of them. If I was in a position where I couldn't do that, and I am in that position because I work at Beatport and we don't have that amount of resource to dedicate to one campaign. So I have limited resource to work in, and I have to pick sometimes, and I have to cull sometimes. I have to say yes or no to what's going to help a campaign grow, and that's your job essentially. Pick the parts that are going to make your campaign grow and run with them and do it well. There's no point doing 5 things shit. Do one thing really good and you'll be fine. So moving into another form of, some would say promotion, but what we've always heard as, you know, Beatport staff members is that labels struggle with visibility, and they struggle sometimes with that, you know, about promotion on site. So we basically had to come up with a way to help promote labels who are up and coming, labels who are perhaps niche, labels who are boutique, labels who need a little bit of help. And we have to, you know, it's our job to do that. 97% of the music we sell on Beatport is from independent labels. And if we don't support that, we're dead. So we don't want to die, so we're going to support independent music. And the way that we've come up with, hopefully it's a way that everybody likes, is to create new sections within the Beatport ecosystem. There's that word again. And this is the newly created Beatport Hype section. Deniz is going to be awesome now and outline the key factors, or the 3 key parts of what we've done on site to help people build their campaigns.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I think it's harder or tougher than ever to get market penetration for small labels, as you have mentioned it at the beginning with your sub-label as well, Jamie. Unless you are an established artist, then you might have success overnight with a new label. Like Curl's new label Ipso, which climbed the Beatport charts quite quickly into #1 within a few weeks. But that really happens only if you are an established artist, and then you can have a successful new label overnight. And the reason why we have designed Hype is, as Matt mentioned it already, is to support boutique labels and to give them more visibility on the store, because most of the questions I got from my smaller labels is, how can I break through Beatport? And you can only do that when you have more visibility, obviously. And Hype comes, so the Hype chart is on the homepage and also on our top 10 best-selling genres. And it comes with additional visibility on the store, meaning 1 banner per week is dedicated to a Hype label, 10 Hype picks, which are curated by our editorial team. And of course, you have a higher chance to enter a Beatport chart, which is already, again, a campaign that leads to more sales. And it gives you also the chance to be visible to the bigger players in the industry, as people like Toolroom, for example, are using this tool as a A&R tool, or to discover new talents or labels, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good tool. Like, I go through it on a regular basis, and we feed back into each other in the office, because you pick out people you've never actually heard before, or you'll listen to a track that may even be better than some of the stuff in the top 10, you know what I mean? So these tracks traditionally would have sat untouched, maybe 10 sales or 15 sales in their lifetime potentially, just because they're from labels that maybe have just started, or from artists that are not on the biggest labels. And you know, I know what it's like. You know, if you've got 100 followers on Facebook or what have you, you know, you're preaching to a very small audience, and maybe your mum and dad are going to buy the record, and then it's over. So this is a great way of making yourself available to labels that maybe they'll keep an eye on you from that moment onwards. And you know, it's not necessarily Toolroom will go in and sign one of the guys from the hype charts straight away, but it's something that really plants a seed in our minds, because down the line there's always you take up a lot of young talent. So and that's a big part of our new business is supporting new talent. So I think this is a great way of us seeing that potential new talent that's going to come up potentially. So
I think Cheryl's got first-hand experience of what it's like to be in hype, even though this is in quite small stages, or in its earlier stages now. Alleanza started a sub-label, and their first 2 releases were pre-hype, and their 3rd release was post-hype. So how has it affected Revolt's evolution?
Well, we noticed that we got a banner in hype, and well, sales-wise, it compared to the other 2, it doubled. So we were really happy with that, and all 3 releases were in the charts. So the release was of a fairly new artist as well. So it really helped the artist as well as the label. Like you said, we only had 2 releases before this one, so they were fairly good. But after the hype banner, we got more feedback. So it was really good. We're happy with that.
And I mean, this is just one way. There's, again, a million ways, and we could sit here all day and just talk about this particular topic. It is the biggest topic that you'll come across. How do you build and this is the biggest challenge. No one said this was going to be easy. This is going to be challenging, and this is one of the building campaigns is always going to, or building campaigns, promotion, visibility. These are the things that are going to haunt you, and they're going to keep you up at night. But they're also the things that when they pay off really good. So the good outweighs the bad.
I just quickly want to mention, if you are a boutique label and want to sign up for Hype, since it's still free for trial, you can go to hype.beatport.com.
Okay, so the last little part of this presentation is a difficult one, because it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but it's for some, looking from the outside looking in, it's quite simple. We live in a community. We live with, we're real people doing real things. And the best thing that you'll ever do to grow your business and to develop new business ideas is to get involved with that community. And this doesn't mean going out to every party and getting smashed every weekend and whatever. I mean, we've all done that too, but what it really means is making real connections with real people. We've touched on it a little bit, collaboration, but what this really means is, there's ways to grow your business, and it's not necessarily just about releasing music. Jamie touched on it earlier. It was, the brand grows, and it's continually growing, and you need to find new ways to do that. And it's not as simple as just like, oh, well, this is what we do. There's more ways of promoting things. Is it events? Is it, what do we want to do? Who do we want to work with, and how do we make that happen? I tell you what, if I wanted to work with Mark Nye, I'd book him. I'd put a party on and I'd book him. And I'd shake his hand and I'd talk to him, I'd chew his ear off all night, and I'd annoy the crap out of him. And then the next day, I'd send him 50 emails and this and that, and I would annoy him so much that he'd be like, this guy, I need to shut him up. And the only way I'm going to shut him up is if I reply. And this is real. This is the reality of it. But this is what you have to do. I think everyone sitting on this panel has touched on some of these things. And Cheryl, when Alleanza started, you guys were quite active in this way. What were some of the ways? I'll put some of them up on the screen for everyone, but maybe you want to walk them through it.
Well, yeah, we invested a lot of time and money in meeting people up front, you know, going to conferences. We believe it's best to talk to people face to face than by email, because sometimes you don't always get answers by emails too fast. But once you establish a relationship with the person, then, you know, you're like a bit on a friend level, and it's easier to communicate and get what you want. But yeah, we started out with doing a weekly radio show, and that helped us getting in touch with artists, and you know, they would give us a 1-hour mix, and that grew. We still do that after 7 years, so it's really popular. And then we started doing events. And like you said, we would book artists, sometimes that were on the label, sometimes that weren't yet. And we have signed up artists that played at our events, so it did help. And then it could be the other way around. We would have a few releases from an artist, and feature him at one of our events. But we did events globally, everywhere, you know, everywhere that we felt at the time was important to be. You know, we did Miami, ADE, everywhere. So Sonar, it was really crazy. We had something going on almost every month. But it helped us establish a good relationship with artists, and that's what you need, that, you know. And we felt that you're also giving to fans as well. You know, they like showcases.
I mean, we like to go to parties. That's pretty fundamental of what we do. Jamie, what are some of the other activations you guys do outside of releasing?
Yeah, we try and do a lot of things to try and you know, interest other people, new people. I mean, that's our key thing is getting new people on board the brand, and you know, that's how things expand, and that's how things get bigger as a matter of course. But I think the one thing that we use as a big asset is the Toolroom Radio to start with. You know, it started years ago with Mark, and I mean, the guys in the office did it first, and then they got shoved off, and Mark got involved. But that's grown into a beast that's, you know, distributed to 30 odd countries worldwide, and I think 10 million listeners a week. And like it's just turned into just a great shop window for the label as a general. Like, doesn't make money, it doesn't do anything else, but it kind of it's one of our biggest calling cards that we have. And we put a lot of effort into that each week. We've got a full-time member of staff making sure that's on point, and you know, that carries new people into the brand. A lot of people, when they meet Mark or when they're out and about, they say they joined Toolroom because of the radio show. So I think even if you can start a radio show, however small it is, and then start getting that momentum going, you know, with a kind of a branded voice, you know, I think that's such a powerful thing to get new people involved within the brand, within a label, and start. So again, just building that balloon of the brand up and keep going. It's a slow expansion, but it helps. Yeah, as you see on the slides, we've been in the events business for a while. It's not our main focus by any stretch of the imagination. Events are hard, and if anyone tells you they're not, then they're lying. So they're difficult work, and we do, you know, a handful of events a year, really. And Mark plays a lot of stuff in the States, but that's a different kettle of fish. But the Toolroom as a brand, you know, we don't do that many events, and when we do them, we try and do them well. And it's been about kind of, again, inviting new people that may not know who Toolroom are, especially, to come and experience the label and experience what we do. And you know, when everyone comes to our event, it'll be even if they don't like tech house, or if they don't like the music that we put out, they have an amazing time because the energy's there, the passion's there. You know, the brand, we offer a great party, and I think you'd never come to an event and go home disappointed, other than having a headache at the end of the night, maybe. But it's such an important part of our business. But yeah, it's not one that takes. We focus on the music at the moment, but yeah, events is a great thing. I know it's hard saying that from the ground upwards. You're not going to be able to jump straight into that if you're just starting out. But if you've got the opportunity, it's definitely an expansion there. And the last thing, I mean, I was going to mention is we started this Toolroom Academy a couple of years ago now. It's an education arm to Toolroom to kind of try and give back some knowledge that we have in the industry, so whether it's from the office or whether it's from some of the really amazing producers that we have, they kind of are investing their time in giving back to people who want to get involved with dance music. So you can come and join us for a course online, or come and do a masterclass, which is a kind of an extensive 12-week program, and you get mentored and you get taught how to make dance music, and hopefully that sets you on a path to further things in dance music and foundations. But again, that's kind of reinvesting into our existing fans more than inviting new people in, really, because you're going to really have to want to do this to get involved with the academy side of things. So, but it's another thing to kind of dedicate to your fans, and yeah, I think it's just another arm that Tom is trying to make.
Okay, we wanted to potentially ask some questions, but I'm
Yes.
pretty sure we're out of time, or can we do a couple?
No, we can do questions for sure.
Okay,
So
excellent.
Anybody got a question for the guys?
So we hope we've been able to provide some spectrum of the process, both from a super established top 5 Beatport label to some other perspectives. So if there is anything, like, we're here for you.
Anybody, guys, want to ask a question? Can I ask a question?
Go for it, as long as it's not to me, mate.
And don't feel like I'm beating you up over this. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you go first.
Thank you. How hard is it to sign up as a label? I haven't any experience with that. On
How do you sign
Beatport.
up as a label?
Yes.
Right. Do you want to go this one?
Yeah, I can do. Sign up as a label on, like, get your releases out on Beatport. Yes. In that meaning, I think the easiest way to do is to find a distribution service first, and I would recommend to go with a selective distribution service and to do a proper research first and see what they can offer you as a service and as data you can get, and look out what kind of relationship they have outside of the Beatport spectrum. Do they have a good relationship to Spotify? Do they have a good relationship to SoundCloud? I don't know. We are only working with selective distribution services. We still have a few direct deals from back then with bigger labels like Toolroom or Steve for Talent or Beatport, but also depending on what kind of music you are doing. I think there are, for example, Labelworks has a lot of tech house labels, for example, and that shows you already where you can go. Or I can definitely say that Labelworks is an expert in that genre. So depending on what you're looking for, you can just apply, and then it's probably easy to get it on Beatport then.
Okay, cool.
So in short, basically, it's very rare that a label has a direct deal with Beatport. So in this case, if you are starting, then a distribution company is your best mate. They're going to help you to set things up and get things where you need them to go.
Okay, cool. And you would like to ask a question, no?
Oh, hello, mate.
Hello.
There's a familiar face.
How are you?
I'm good, mate.
What's the best day of the week to release a record?
Well, releases are Friday, essentially, and then most of the updates will go through from then onwards. That's a global release day, so it's very rare that something's released outside of that sphere. So there's only you don't have much choice. It's Friday. Sorry.
Okay, anybody else? Question? Good.
Hi guys, really good talk to all of you, so thank you. I have one random question. You mentioned earlier on about the free track that you're doing each week, which I think is a wonderful idea. Is there any way that record labels can release free tracks but they still get put onto Beatport and charted?
Yeah, that's what you saw there was literally the campaign we ran on Wednesday. Shit, I don't even know what date it is, but it was this week, and it will be a free track for 1 week, and then it will go onto Beatport as it will live as a normal track on Beatport. It's purely free for a short period of time. The label use it as promotion. We use it as a gift to everyone. But yeah, that's how it does run. You have a free period of a week, and then it lives on Beatport as normal. So yeah, easy.
Okay, any more? I've got a question for you. Ooh. So, one of my artists released a track about a month ago. Well, an EP, 2 tracks on Damien Lazarus's label. Okay?
Wow, you're going in now.
I'm getting in. And we insisted that we wanted these tracks on Deep House, in the Deep House genre. And only to find that the B-side, the weaker track, went Deep House and went to number 14 in the charts. And the strong track, for some reason, went to Melodic House and never even charted. So I want to know why Beatport would think that they are more qualified to decide what genre a track goes into than the artist and the label.
And
a label
mic drop.
by Damien Lazarus.
Okay, firstly, I'll preface that by saying we don't think we have the right to do blah, blah, blah. It's more about what we have to do as a merchandising, what we have to do from a merchandising point is put things in places where they are which in the best that we can, put them into places where we think they're going to succeed. Our number one goal is to help labels. We're not here to do anything like I don't go to work every day to do anything other than that. Neither does Deniz. Sometimes there's difference of opinion. It does happen. We've all got, opinions are like a word that I won't use on this panel, and everybody's got one. So it's hard. It's hard work, and we try hard to keep as many people as happy possible. And hey, maybe there was I'll just put it out there. Maybe there was a misinterpretation from your end. Maybe the track that kicked ass was the track that deserved to kick ass, or people vote with their feet. Sometimes it doesn't matter where something goes. They're going to vote with their feet and they will do it. But this answer could go forever and a day, and let's talk about it when I get off this stage, because I would love to.
Understood. Okay. Thank you, guys. Fantastic.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.